policies and traditional moral values of the Republican Party 10 years ago. I was also there when someone at this table was pushing against that to try and keep a heartbeat bill that technically has never really saved any lives. We had the same thing going on continuously. That particular bill actually allows a carve-out from others to continue.
Thank you, sir. Our second question, we're going to begin with Mr. Filler, and we will work our way down the line as we did a moment ago. Question number 2, also dealing with the moral issue that is a hot button in our society. Where do you stand on the issue of human sexuality?
Can you clarify?
We'd just like to know where you stand on the issue. There's a lot of controversy over gender, what defines a man and a woman, transgendering our kids.
Like the yes or no question. So can a man...
Just in more detail to know exactly where you stand.
It's a loaded question. So I'm a man, I was born a man, I can't become a woman. So you have people like on the Republican side, Bruce Jenner says he's a woman, but he's a man. So end of story.
Thank you. Ms. Blanco?
I believe that God made us man and woman, and there's no other genders.
Thank you. Mr. Kane?
Excellent. Greetings. Great question. In the Texas House of Representatives, it's certainly something that we've dealt with. In fact, for my voting record on issues dealing with family, I've been named a Faith and Family Champion by Texas Values in 2017, 2019, 2021, 23, and 25. We worked on legislation to ensure that to give the rights to folks to say, no, I don't want to do a marriage for a homosexual couple. We continue to fight on those things, that people should have those conscious decisions, and there's only men and women, and that's it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clayton?
So my stand on how sexuality is defined is based upon how a person chooses. So I believe that when they're born into this world, they're born male or female, but I also believe that a person can choose to identify how they choose to. And one of the things I always say, if God was to be in this room, who would he disregard all of his children? Because as someone stated, he created us before life was born. Before we were born. So I would stand wholeheartedly with a person identifying how they choose to identify.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mims?
Simple answer. There are two genders. You can't change them. I believe think the Secretary of Health has it right in telling that the hospitals engaging in gender changing with children has to be eliminated. That's a crime, that's criminal, and it's child abuse. So that's my opinion on that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morales?
When I was on the SRC, we had several priorities. One of them was we did not want to see males in women's sports. That is completely unfair to those women that work their whole lives as little girls to young women in their sports. That was wrong. It is dangerous. Gender surgery is mutilation. It's wrong. Parents need to understand.
Thank you, sir. Crystal?
I stand with the Bible. The Bible is very clear that sexuality should be holy in the bedroom of a married male and female. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. No exceptions. Your sexuality is your choice. I'm no one to condemn that, but I stand with what the Bible says, biblical values on where that should be. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thane?
I believe there's only two genders. Well, it's not for me to judge because, I'm not perfect or anything, but I do believe that there's two genders. I won't discriminate against anybody for their choice because God gave us free will, but to follow his word, there's only two genders. And I don't think I can make it any clearer than that. It's the way I feel.
Mr. Burns?
I don't want Ken Paxton in my bedroom, and I think if you're an adult and you're living your life and you're not hurting anybody, live your life. I don't think the government should get involved in everybody's personal life, but I can tell you I was running for Senate for a few months. I have traveled this state. I'm on my third set of windshields driving around before I switched to running for District 9, and I can tell you that not one person ever asked me about this. People are worried about health care. They're worried about education. They're worried about community safety. This is a Fox News catnip issue. This is not something that voters around the state of Texas are worried about.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stovall.
Firm believer there's only two sexes, male and female. I also have been a school board member for a number of years since 2010, off and on at Tarkington Independent School District. And I can tell you that just watching around the United States and seeing the sexualization of children growing so rampantly, and you can see the correlation between mental illness and this whole transgender movement, I think it's something that has to be dealt with. The idea that we're going to stand by and allow this to go on, you can watch the mental illness numbers crawl, or we can deal with it straight ahead, and I'd rather do that.
Thank you, sir. Question number 3. Oh, I'm sorry.
A lot of these questions, I'm sorry, I'm really thrown off because community is genuinely right now trying to put food on the table, and we're talking about these things that genuinely have nothing to do with what's going on. I can tell you that I've been abused as a child and for a big part of my career, and I promise you none of them were queer folk. They were all straight men. And that's not to say that to divide, but let's talk about the party that's actually trying to basically cover up for pedophiles.
Thank you. That is your time, Ms. Gutierrez, unless you want to use your card. Jamie, we will start with you with question number 3. Many in our area are concerned about the development of Colony Ridge in Liberty County. How do you plan to address this issue? Starting with Jamie.
Can you specify that, please?
This is a question that was, all of these questions are submitted by people in the community, and this was one of the questions that we received with concern about the development of Colony Ridge. I would assume the impact of the question is the crime, the criminal activity that's taking place, not only in the colony, but also with the way the developers abuse people financially with giving loans and foreclosure and all those sorts of things.
Okay, well, I do need to read up on this that I haven't done. However, I do come from a real estate background, and I do know there's a lot of communities and developments that are developed, and we always want, whether it's a HUD project, whether it's for low income. I did a lot with Section 8 because that was one of my big strongholds on that in property development.
Thank you. Mr. Kane.
Yeah. 2 questions about Colony Ridge development. They're out near the area of Cleveland. I'll just come out front and point it out. There's a couple of developers of Colony Ridge. One was Trey Harris. I've received 2 checks from them, one in 2019, another about 2021 or so, by the way. The developers just send out checks to people in public office, by the way, and in fact, if it had influenced me, you wouldn't see that I voted against the bill that would have expanded their powers. One of 7 Republicans have voted against it. They're being investigated. The deportations are happening. I do support the federal government and what they're doing now.
Mr. Clayton.
So, unlike everyone else, they either are being bought by these corporations or they don't really understand what's happening within the community. But I can say that I am for making sure that there's infrastructure, but I am definitely against having this Colony Ridge, because if you build, you won't have anywhere for flooding or anything to go within the city. So that would actually help the current residents rather than help. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton. Mr. Mims.
Well, number one, with Colony Ridge, it's absolutely unethical business practices. Unfortunately, the business practices aren't illegal. I've met with the county sheriff in Liberty County. I've met with the county judge in Liberty County. And their difficulty is that their lawyers are very good at skirting the law. And so it's not an easy fix. I think from a federal level, the biggest thing we can do is work through ICE and border enforcement and remove any illegal residents that may be there.
Thank you, Mr. Mims.
Real
Mr.
quickly,
Morales.
let's get rid of the cartel, the terrorists, that are up there in Colony Ridge. That's where we need to start. We also need to look at the corruption of public officials, law enforcement in that area. And one question, Risco, did you give that money back? You speak a great game about illegal immigration. Did you give the money back to the Harris brothers? Yes or no? It's a simple question, yes or no? That's what I thought.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. Crystal?
As a city council member, we get approached often by big developers that want to come to our city, and they offer a big game. I will say I was devastated to find out a lot of corruption has gone on. It makes me more proud to be from Manville than after finding this information out. But I stand with, you have to go after illegal practices, period. If you take an oath to represent your constituency, no-go zones are not okay.
Thank you. Mr. Thane?
That development should have never happened because it's in a floodplain. 1994, I went to a friend's house to rescue stuff out of his house, and we were sitting in 24 foot of water. Okay, I used to hunt those woods. I know the place very well. Cartel does have control, and there was a lot of illegal practices going on as far as marketing and everything else. As far as how it was ever built, I think we need to look into how we ever got permits for that place, or how the developer ever got permits. Like I said, it's in a known floodplain. I know people from that area. It overloaded our schools in Cleveland. It added 9,000 new students in the first 3 years it was open. The roads were not there. You know, these are small rural roads. Okay. The infrastructure's not there, but unfortunately the people are.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burks?
I agree. We need to stop developing in floodplains. That costs us all. It makes our insurance skyrocket, and that's a big deal. But fundamentally, this is about corruption. And unfortunately, what we're seeing in Washington, D.C. is corruption unlike anything we've ever seen before. This puts the 18th century robber barons to shame. Trump kid is on the board of a defense contractor that just was a startup that just got a $600 million contract. The Trump family has made over $5 billion in crypto wealth and real estate deals. I'm going to support ethics for Congress, the President, and Supreme Court.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stovall?
I live about 14 miles from Colony Ridge. This is not a new subject matter. So the idea that you would ever take money from them as a donor is a show of lack of wisdom and discernment. This is a situation that's been around for a long time. It's homestead to 2 different cartels at this moment. I got law enforcement friends all through Liberty County. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. There are federal laws on the books that can deal with this. They just have to be applied. But he's not the only acceptor of donorships there. We got Abbott taking $1.5 million from these people. So it's a bigger problem than you think.
Ms. Gutierrez?
One thing that I guess Harris County and Liberty County have in common is that, yes, developers usually tend to be lobbyists and, do have their way with our communities. And then we're the ones that are left with the aftermath, with a lot of the catastrophic weather patterns that we're seeing now and the flooding issues. And that's passed down to our taxpayers. We have a huge issue with flooding, and apparently so does Liberty County. And again, there should not be big developers paying into pockets those that are supposed to protect us.
Thank you. Mr. Filler?
Well, what a great question. So Colony Ridge, there's members on the board up here that are, part of the corruption, but I would say Problem Solvers Caucus, number 1. So if we want to work up in Washington, D.C., we have to be part of the solution. So there's something called the Problem Solvers Caucus. So it's a bipartisan caucus of Republicans and Democrats. They come together to solve big problems like this. Potentially they may say, let's work on immigration reform. They may, I would wholeheartedly agree with probably everyone on this panel up here that we don't want cartels, we don't want gang members, we want them out of our country 100%. But we, it's like if I go in and I have a broken collarbone, I'm not going to ask for chemotherapy. That's kind of what I can see the immigration policy. So go clean up the place, get rid of the corruption. But that's hard. Like other members on this panel have said, it's instilled in the corruption in there. So we would need good candidates who can see themselves working on different committees. For example, the Judiciary Committee to address the corruption.
Thank you, sir. Our next question, we'll start with you, Mr. Kane. Dealing with border security, what specific policies do you support to address the challenges at the Texas-Mexico border, and what is your approach to managing both border security and process for legal immigration or asylum seekers?
Which one do we have as far as this goes? So I have an idea how.
You will have a chance at the end to give a response to
What I mean is, how many more questions do we have to go? Like, we're trying to.
about a half a dozen. Yeah.
Should use a microphone. Thank you. First off, regarding the border, I've been endorsed by Texans for Strong Borders and have a 100% voting record with them. So the border, of course, obviously is important to everybody. It's one of the most important issues in Texas. And for the last decade, the Texas has done everything it could. In fact, before we had President Trump come in, I filed the first state-level bill to ensure that the state could build its own wall. But what we do need to do, we need to deport every single illegal that came in through that border under Biden.
Thanks. Mr. Clayton.
So I think the biggest issue is everyone always put this border immigration all on the Biden administration. But the thing is that border security has been a problem for many administrations. And so the thing is that people who get here by way of border control, yes, we need to have stronger border enforcement. But if they are here, we need to find a civilized way to actually work with the people that come into our country to ensure that they have due process, as all Americans do, as a part of the Constitution as well.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Mims.
Well, President Trump got it right first time around when he had the Remain in Mexico policy. That way we had an opportunity to vet. Letting them in the way the Biden administration has overwhelmed all of our resources. We have to continue to work to remove those that came across illegally, but we also need to invest in personnel to help those who do want to come in legally, do want to be a part of our country, do want to assimilate and become productive citizens so that they have a path to do so.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morales.
In 2023, I ran for Houston City Council. The Houston Chronicle reported Roy Morales wants to deport migrants. That was false. I wanted to go after the criminals, the hardcore criminals, the people that rape, that murder, that rob. Those are the ones we need to go after now. We have a lot of bystanders, including U.S. citizens, Hispanics that are being picked up. We have to have a better policy.
Thank you, sir. Crystal.
I agree with President Trump. We need to secure our border, and we've done a phenomenal job doing that. The border is secure. We just heard Tom Homan say there was zero illegal immigrants trying to cross the border here recently. I think we're doing a good job, but we need to make sure that that is solidified, that that doesn't go away when someone else comes into office. I think that we need to have steel borders, but also a more advanced way to allow the people who want to come in the right way to be able to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Thang?
I'm a big fan of the Remain in Mexico, and to apply with the advances in technology we got, we should be able to do a background check in at least days, not years. Shouldn't take 10 years for somebody to get an answer on the immigration or a temporary status. At least then they would be on a probationary status, working, paying taxes, and if they go through all the classes and everything, can eventually become a citizen. But I am a big fan of Remain in Mexico.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burks.
As Democrats, we need to realize and acknowledge that the border was out of control. There's a reason. I was in McAllen several times this year. There's a reason why every single county on the border in Texas voted for Trump, and those are Hispanic, Latino counties. They did not want a border that was out of control. But things have swung way too far in the opposite direction, and we need a balance here. We need to know that Congress needs to do its job. We haven't had comprehensive immigration reform for decades. When I'm in Congress, I'm going to work to do that. We need to treat immigrants with kindness and respect. We need to realize that immigration is a foundation of our economy. We're not going to lower prices by deporting farm workers or construction workers. When I read the Bible, Leviticus 19 says you need to treat a stranger in a strange land like one of your own. When I read about Jesus, I don't see him calling people garbage like the president just did. When you use dehumanizing language like that, calling certain groups of people garbage, bad things happen. I was based in Germany. I've been to Dachau. I've been to Auschwitz. We need to stop with the inflammatory language and treat people with kindness and respect.
Thank you, sir.
And have a strong border.
Mr. Stovall.
That's an interesting take, because when Moses went to the border of Edom, he asked the king of Edom if he could come in, and he said no. And what did he do? He went around. He didn't break the law. He went around. A few years ago, I went down and spent a few days with the Border Patrol. It's terrible. It's much better now. They're on the right path. But I'm going to tell you, it's magnets. I've worked in the oil field with my Mexican friends since I was 15 years old. I'm 60 now. They didn't have anchor baby status then, but I can tell you, if you don't bring the employers to the table to figure out how to regulate them to stop this, you're not going to take away the magnets.
Thank you, sir. Tisha.
Nobody's asking for open borders. We're asking for decent humanity here. And we're in a church, and we're quoting scripture. I came to this country undocumented with my family, and we worked hard. There is no path. The system is made up this way. Everyone who gets here either has to cross the border and baptize themselves through the desert and pray that they make it here alive. And it's not because they want to, it's because it's out of desperation. The rest of them either have to overstay their visas.
Thank you.
Well, can I get another 30?
Yes, ma'am.
The rest of them have to overstay their visas and then apply. But unfortunately, there are no real paths to citizenship. The dehumanization and continuing to call us illegals and picking up Hispanic veterans and incarcerating them, along with other legal citizens that are in this country, picking them up at their court case when they're actually trying to go through the legal pattern, that is not what America is, and that is not what I came here for. My firstborn son, my only son, is fighting for this country.
Thank
and
you.
This is what we're doing. This is disgusting.
Thank you. Mr. Filler.
Question. So, part of your question is managing. Well, I didn't have a chance to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Peter Filler. I'm a resource manager. So all of this just comes down to management. So simply, we want to be representatives up in Washington, D.C. So we have to have good management skills, organization skills. So I would personally work on the Foreign Affairs Committee to solve this. Pretty simple, like it's been mentioned here before. We have stalemate in Washington, D.C., so the Problem Solvers Caucus, something that they can easily address immigration reform. So, starting on the other side of the border, potentially securing, like where my wife's from, El Salvador, these countries, so they're in bitter civil wars, but we're not helping them. So we can do a lot better job to, stabilize those countries. Of course, we need to, just like we're doing, we need to stabilize our border, have a secure border and not an open border, which we hear a lot about. But there should be, a bidding process. So we hear a lot about corruption these days. Well, that's part of the corruption. There's no bid contract. So if we address these issues, this will help to fight corruption. Is what I'll do, Peter Filler, the voice of the people.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Blanco.
We know that we had a really bad crisis in the border, and so much has been done, and Trump has done wonderful things. And now that the big, beautiful bill has passed, we are going to allocate more money over there and advocate. But I just want y'all to remember one thing. We are here to protect the American people, and whatever it takes to protect the American people. I know that we do have to have a heart for the people, but we also have to remember that these people come in disguise, and they come to want to harm us. So we need to vet and remove many of them.
Thank you. All right. That is the only time we'll talk about the specific. So if you would like to, you may.
So as the daughter of an immigrant, Mexican-American, that came here the right way, I think it's an insult for those that have the opportunity to do it the right way. However, I will say that who is cleaning up and cleaning house with this is the attorneys. A friend of mine paid $100,000 after coming here on asylum, looking for the right way to do it, and it took her 7 years to get that pathway. And so we need to reform the system and stop letting people take advantage of those that want to do it the right way.
Thank you. Mr. Clayton, you'd like to add on?
Yeah, so I actually do. So you have people like Jamie and you have people like Crystal that really don't understand how it actually works to actually become legal in this country. They're so far removed from what's happening. They so far underneath Trump's wannabe king ring that they don't really understand the process of how it really works to become an American citizen. So when you say people are doing the right way versus the wrong way, I think you need to have a better understanding of what's actually happening in America now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we are running to protect the American people. There has been many incidents that they have stopped of terrorist attacks, okay? And if they're coming in here nonchalantly to attack America, we are to protect our people at all cost.
Thank you, Ms. James. You have one card left. That's your last 30-second card.
I'll die on this cross. So I literally I do not understand how people can say that you want to protect children, you want to protect life, you want to protect the things, but not if you have a little piece of paper that makes you legal. People, I'm all for securing borders and getting rid of people that are doing bad things, but that is not the majority of us. And you guys constantly painting us as that is the reason why I'm running. I'm an immigrant. My family came here to work, and they've been working their ass off all of their life.
Thank you.
And you sitting here saying something different is completely disgusting.
Thank you. That is your time. I do appreciate healthy debate. Mr. Morales.
Healthy debate. You know, I've talked about going after the hard criminals. Yes, we need to get rid of them, but you're saying that the cashier, the dishwasher, the staff are dangerous to our community? That is so wrong. That is so wrong. We have to worry about the bad ones. We have to go after them. Those are the ones that the president and Tom Homan said we're going to go after, but that's not what's happening.
Thank you, sir. All right, next question. We'll begin with Mr. Clayton. Another question about security in our nation. Do you see Sharia law as a potential threat to America? If not, why not? And if so, what is your plan to protect our communities from its infiltration?
So this is actually one of the things that I'm unfamiliar with is the Sharia law. But in terms of protecting to our communities from infiltration, I think that our communities need to be protected across the border with productive community liaisons such as our police officers, as well as the individuals that are associated with communities in general. So I think that communities need just protection overall from anything that's hazardous.
Thanks, sir. That's your time. Mr. Mims?
I don't know if I need 30 seconds. Sharia law in the United States in any form is unacceptable. It's a threat to our democracy. It's a threat to our way of life, and there's simply no place for it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morales?
After 9/11, I was sent to the Pentagon to work on the planning order for the war on terrorism. So I had to really educate myself in this area. Sharia laws, you have the combination of politics, government, schools, religion. If you're a woman in that area, you can't vote. You can't speak up. You can't divorce. You get stoned. You get hung. They want to bring that to the United States of America. I say no way.
Thank you, sir. Crystal?
I want to make sure to distinguish, for those of us who don't know anything about Sharia law, that Islamic brothers and those of the Islamic faith are not all for Sharia law. Sharia law is an invasion of this country in trying to replace what our framers and the Constitution of the United States did when they formed that. Our country is a Judeo-Christian nation, therefore they should not try to dominate, rather assimilate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thang?
Sharia law, because I've been in the Middle East in my life, and there's no assimilation. They are totally against the Judeo-Christian ways of thinking. They are in their way of thinking, and it is a danger to our democracy and to our country. The people that operate under Sharia law have no intention of assimilating into American society, and it's something that we have to deal with.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burts?
I flew combat in the Middle East for years. I've seen Sharia law firsthand. There is no Sharia law here in Deer Park. I've worked with Muslims in the oil and gas industry. They are great engineers. They're great parts of our community. We need to treat them with kindness and respect. The thing that really makes me worried about Sharia law is how in bed President Trump is with these Gulf monarchies, with the sheiks, with the mullahs in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. This is dangerous. Why is he such good friends with people who actually do stone women when they do something wrong? This is a Fox News culture war issue that everybody's yelling about. It's not a thing.
Mr. Stovall?
I take it a little more serious than that. I do think it's a thing, and I think it is something that we need to pay attention to very closely. I think it also falls under the umbrella of dealing with deportation, dealing with H-1B1 visas, all visas. I think there's a lot to be said here. We're talking about a cultural issue. We're not even getting into anything other than the fact that you don't want, people in Moscow don't want Texans moving there to change that into Texas any more than we want them coming here and changing this to Russia. It's the same thing. And you're not dealing with a theological issue. That's a tyrannical form of government.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gutierrez?
Show of hands. Who is here being affected by Sharia law? Is anybody here affected by Sharia law? Is that something that is going to change the price? Well, it's not coming. Well, first of all, we're dealing with grocery prices. We're trying to get a hold of our health care. We're trying to make sure that we don't get contamination. We have cancer clusters in this district. There's a whole host of things happening, and Sharia law is nowhere near here.
Thank you. That is your time. Mr. Filler?
Another great question. As you know, being Jewish, and I've been to Israel, and you know, I'm an educator. I don't want to probably announce that to one of the guys up here. He may try to get me fired, like someone else in the audience here. But on a side note, so Sharia law, yeah. So what would I do to protect America? Well, probably educate. There's Ilhan Omar. She's not trying to overthrow and instill Sharia law. It's, you know, it could potentially be a threat. Look at the Islamic Republic of Iran and how they treat people, and you know. But I don't. Is it a threat? So if it is, yes, I agree. Educate
Thank you, sir.
people,
That is your time.
and then we don't have to worry about Ilhan Omar.
Jamie?
As you know, that we were founded with Judeo-Christian principles. And if any other laws that are trying to be implemented, even within, we have to at least stop it for it not to affect any of us, okay? And we have to look into ourselves and say, they need to assimilate into the United States of America if this is where they choose to live. If not, they can go back and practice this in Saudi Arabia and where this is
That is your
practiced.
time. Mr. Kane?
Excellent. Yes, absolutely. Look, Islam is 100% incompatible with Western democracy because it doesn't recognize the value of the individual or give humans freedom. And in about, I believe, 2017 and 2019, I co-authored and passed a law to require that only American law be recognized in our courts, thus banning Sharia law. I voted against making Ramadan a holiday, and it failed in the House. And because of my, me just kind of paying attention to my quick action, I single-handedly stopped the attempt to put the 5 pillars of Islam in every classroom. So, no Islam, yes Jesus.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Our next question will begin with you, Mr. Mims. Question about health care. And this is from one of our constituents, and this is lengthy. Texas is at the bottom of all states to support people with intellectual disabilities. There's a 15 to 20-year wait list for Medicaid funding for Medicaid waivers. These waivers support people with disabilities, providing caregivers, day habs, therapy, and group homes. How will you vote to provide funding to waivers to close the wait list? Mr. Mims.
That one I may have to work on. That specific topic. I think certainly mental illness is an issue, and I think that it is incumbent on those of us that are seeking to be policymakers and willing to investigate, work with professionals, and make sure that the individuals who need the care receive it. If it means that we need to look at things within our Medicare and Medicaid system to help make that happen, then I'm willing certainly to look at that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morales?
Healthcare is one of the top issues. I know we've talked about a lot of issues tonight. A couple of the other candidates have brought up the point about healthcare economy. This is an important one, but not just in the mental health area. I mean, if you go to Harris County, most of their money goes towards healthcare in our jails. We have to look at the big picture. Congress is looking at the whole picture of Medicare, healthcare. We need to be working on that, and that's what our concern should be.
Thank you, sir. Allow me to clarify the question, too. This is not about mental health. It's about people with intellectual disabilities, so such as Down syndrome, those sorts of things. Texans with, huh?
I mean, that's not what I'm, used to hearing it, but maybe it's changed.
Crystal.
I only have 30 seconds. This is a lot to cover. First of all, the healthcare system is full of bureaucracy and red tape, and that's what strangles families and squeezes them into 15-year waiting periods to get some type of help. This needs to be stopped. I've been working on this, but I plan to pass or introduce the Fair Pharmacy Transparency Act when I get to Congress on day one, because PBMs are wrecking our system and they're taking that profit, and that is being passed down to families.
Thank you. That is your time, Mr. Thane.
Okay, in 30 seconds. It takes this long because of the debt that our country's in. We're in financial disarray, and when you're broke, you can't do anything. I actually have put forward a plan to take the tariff money and shore up the Social Security and Medicaid trust fund that will help do, cover half of what they expended last year. So if you check out my website, you can check it out in more detail then.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Virts?
Yes, sir. Healthcare is going to be at the top of my priority. I understand bureaucracy. I sympathize with it. I spent 30 years in the Air Force. We used to joke at NASA. NASA puts the no in innovation. We need to get rid of bureaucracy. But I will say this. This administration, I'm going to work to fund healthcare for us, for working people here, for all of us. This administration wasn't willing to spend $350 billion over 10 years to support healthcare, but they were willing to spend $4 trillion for billionaire tax cuts. I'm going to support us. I'm going to support healthcare, Medicaid, and other healthcare for us.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stovall?
We're going to be $40 trillion in debt before long. And I ask one question. I realize what's functioning right now and how we're managing this, which is we're poorly managing this. But where in the Constitution does it give the federal government the authority to manage our health care at all? If we want to answer these questions, we need to answer it at the state level. We need to get the federal government out of this, figure out how to get them out of debt and get them out of our lives as far as they possibly can. I do not want them running my health care. I don't want them running anything that has anything to do with me or my family.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gutierrez?
Healthcare is obviously an issue, and that's something that I've brought up over and over again. Our healthcare costs are about to go through the roof. I had to take my dad for a second opinion, and it cost $400. That's just one. Lobbyists are obviously in the pockets of these candidates, and then we wonder why our costs are through the roof. Yes, government should get out of the way, but unfortunately, our bureaucracy is not.
Thank you, Mr. Filler.
Another great question. So it's a Medicaid funding question. So waivers, of course, there should be exclusions for, like you mentioned, Down syndrome. Really, the question is a funding question, I would think. Where does the funding come from? So, if China holds our debt, well, and we have the negotiator in chief, well, he should be negotiating. We're buying all these Chinese products, so he should negotiate our debt. So we're not paying trillions of dollars to service said debt. And potentially could be a talk about, these tariffs that, these need to be not these blanket tariffs that we're seeing that are doubling the cost of, say, rebuilding a bridge.
Thank you, sir. Jamie?
I agree that we have a huge problem in our healthcare system, and going to Congress my goal is to make sure we work with both parties to get the government out of the way and get the people what they need. And yes, people with disabilities should come on first in priority and down the line to our children and mental and...
Thank you. That is your time. Mr. Kane?
Excellent. First, of course, we need to repeal Obamacare. Dead simple. Repeal Obamacare. Get the federal government out of it. It's done nothing but ruin it ever since they have. Number two, if you're wondering where does all the Medicaid funding go, it's really easy. Deport the illegals, and you'll quickly find you got a lot of money left over for Americans with intellectual disabilities.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clayton.
Okay, I wish I can use this 10 seconds, but anyway, it's obviously that no one on this panel really understands how the healthcare system works. As an epidemiologist, I've worked over 20 plus years working with everyone to get Medicare expansion. And so right now you have some overly zealous Trump supporters that is with him with this big, beautiful bill that has stricken and taken away Medicare from a lot of people, including, look at the subsidies for the ACA. They're about to go through the roof. The people in Deer Park would not be able to afford to live
Thank
anymore.
you. That is your time. Thank you, sir. Mr. Morales, did you want to give a response? You held your card up a minute ago.
Well, next question along the same line.
It is another healthcare question, yes, sir. Yeah. And we will be starting that question, Mr. Morales, with you. And the question is this, obviously, and it's been stated, health insurance, healthcare costs have become astronomical, making it difficult for the average family to afford health care. What will you do to make health care affordable for Texans?
Well, I believe what is before Congress, and hopefully within 10 days they vote on it, where health care will cover everybody, not just what ACA did. That was only a small percentage. But yes, government needs to get the hell out of the way. That's what they need to do. When ACA started, United Healthcare, their revenue was $100 billion. Today, it's $600 billion. Where'd our money go? It went to them. We need to be able to find our own health care.
Thank you, sir. Crystal?
Strong opinions here. When I was a single mom and applied for Obamacare, it was a $7,000 deductible, $700 a month. That was unaffordable, unsustainable. My clients right now, business owners, are suffering trying to pay $2,000 more a month for each employee just to cover health care. It's astronomical. It's horrible. It needs to change, and it needs to stop. The other thing is that families, they're seeing their yearly rates go up by $12,000 every year.
Thank you, Chris. That is your time. Mr. Thang?
When the Unaffordable Care Act first came out, I was working for a company, and for my family of 4, our insurance was $358 a month. When Obamacare came out, it went to $378 a week, and the deductible went from $1,500 to $15,000. So I couldn't afford it, so I dropped it. So, the Obamacare needs to be repealed, and it needs to be replaced with something else. It's not an insurance company money grab.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burks?
We hear this a lot. It needs to be replaced with something else, but Republicans have no idea, or they've never said what that is. The reality is, I was talking to a gentleman, a small business owner this week. One of his employees was paying $700 a month. He just got the bill for the upcoming year. It's going to be $2,300 a month. Folks here in our community, working people, are about to get crushed with healthcare costs that were already too high. We need to bring costs down. We pay way too much for healthcare. We need to increase supply, more doctors, more machines, and we need to provide diagnostic tests like mammograms for free.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stovall?
I'm going to be perfectly honest with everybody here. The question is, what will you do to make quality health care affordable for Texas? I have no idea what you would do. Not a single thing of what you could do by a single person. Even as a group, I don't know how you get out of the hole you're in. There's a combination of things that are all factoring into this, and it has to do with the devaluation of the dollar, inflation, which exponentially increases the cost of everything, including your health care. So the idea that we can continue to borrow money to fund Obamacare is ridiculous. The idea that we're going to do something by policy that's going to force the numbers to go down is ridiculous.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gutierrez?
We need to expand. We need to be able to expand health care to everyone. Unfortunately, to your point, yes, we can't just wave a magic wand. However, this current administration has made it for certain that our interest costs are going to go through the roof. As a single mother who I still have a couple of my children on insurance, it has gone up dramatically, and it's about to get even worse. And furthermore, what does insurance even do at this point? When you go to the doctor, it doesn't cover for much. But it's the lobbyists that are consistently trying to basically gouge us. It's the big corporations that are making money, not us.
Mr. Filler?
All right, another great question. So how do we make this health insurance more affordable? Well, we could potentially break up the monopolies. So I didn't also tell you I'm a realtor. So in real estate, we can't get a loan unless they do some ratios. So in order to get health insurance, I would say an income to debt ratio. So 35%, they shouldn't charge us more than a certain ratio of our income. So it all comes down to not DOGE, but dismantling the arms of government. So when they take away Medicaid and all these things, so then we have to go to the hospitals, and then the taxpayers end up footing the bill.
Thank you, sir. Jamie?
I truly believe that there is a huge problem with how the system has been set up for many years. And we have to go to the root cause, because these doctors graduate and they are in debt. And the things that they probably do unethical, we need a DOGE to go in here to make it a state, for each state to have something for their people to vote against. Vote for, but so that way we can find a solution of how we're going to provide health care for everyone.
Thank you. That is your time. Mr. Kane.
Excellent. I'd say one of the solutions, of course, is to deregulate. For example, to allow Texans to maybe be able to buy health insurance across lines in Louisiana if it's more competitive. That's something you can't do. That would be one way to certainly make it cheaper. Allow Americans not to go to pharmacy for everything. In fact, in Texas, co-author and pass a bill that allows you to buy ivermectin over the counter. You should have long been able to do that. There are plenty of ways that we can make it a lot cheaper. Sadly, the doctors, the corporatists, the big insurance companies won't like it, but there's certainly things I think we can do.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clayton?
And see, this is what happens when we allow certain government officials into our public health system. We have people who don't even understand what ivermectin actually does. It actually harms. But the thing is that what I would do as the next congressman for District 9, I would make sure that I go into the United States House of Representatives and make sure that there are bills that are established that protect federally across the board, because we need Medicare and Medicaid that is regulated by the federal government to apply to everyone.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mims.
Affordable Care Act was never affordable, and it's proven. I think the speaker has been working on some programs, and he's on the right track. We can expand use of the HSA. We can expand competition. Definitely, we need to allow small employers to band together, and as Briscoe said, even across state lines, so that we can go out and have a large enough pool to purchase. When I own my own business, numbers matter.
Thank you. That is your time. Mr. Birch, would you like to add?
I'll jump in here, yes, sir. We've had Republican government here for over 30 years in Texas, and what it's done is it's given us, Texas is number one. We are number one in the country for the most uninsured people. With the disaster that's happening from this administration, we're about to add 1.4 million Texans are about to lose their health insurance next year. It's a disaster that's coming for the working people. It's coming for us, okay? It helps the billionaires. It's coming for us. What we need to do is cut costs, bring health insurance down, and rural areas are getting crushed. They're losing their hospitals.
Thank you, sir. All right. Our next question will begin with Crystal. Question about education. What is your stance on using public funds for private school vouchers, and how do you plan to ensure the quality and adequate funding of the public K-12 education system across the state?
Oh boy. So as a mama bear and a daughter of a stepmother who was in education for over 50 years, when this entire thing was being, talked about at the House, passing legislation, school choice was one of those touchy topics. And I would say this, I homeschool my baby girl now because the current education system has utterly, utterly failed us. They have taken away teaching our kids the basics of arithmetic, reading, and writing. They're no longer even learning to write in manuscript. They're pushing them onto devices that is not benefiting them.
Thank you. That is your time.
I want to go some more.
That'll work.
This is a personal topic for me. I do believe that we need to, our communities is what's supposed to build our kids, our children. They are our future. So I do believe that there needs to be more transparency and there needs to be tax cuts, because I don't believe that our elderly should be footing the bills for the school districts. Our school district property taxes have tripled over the last 6 years. It's unsustainable, and we're not getting our ROI when it comes to the education that our kids are getting.
Thank you. Mr. Thane.
Our students' test scores have dropped steadily for the last 70, 80 years. okay, especially since 1979 when the Department of Education came in. It was turned around and it utterly failed. Okay, there needs to be some competition to hold schools accountable, because some people can't afford to just pick up and move because they live in a bad school district. Bad school district should not be tolerated. So the state regulates it. I'm glad to see the state getting more involved in controlling it.
Verts?
I'm a product of public schools. I believe strongly in public schools. I was able to get into the Air Force Academy and do all the things that I did, fly F-16s, go to NASA, because I had good public schools. I believe that every kid in this district needs an opportunity. Every kid needs to be able to reach their potential, go to trades, go to college, whatever it is, and that starts with public school. Vouchers hurt public schools. It takes money away. I know Greg Abbott got $5 million from this billionaire, and that was his one issue. This was something that 1% of Texans wanted. It doesn't help the kids here. It hurts them.
Thank you.
Well, I'm running for a congressional seat, and that office has no business being involved in the education of your children. So I'm going to put that out there first. Second, you've got 55 million K through 12 students across 50 different states in this union, and they're managed by 435 people 1,500 miles to your east. What you want to do to make an equitable, if you want to use that word, alignment of choice in the Texas, and you want to help Texas education, you get the federal aspect of it closed down completely and hand it all back to us. You take care of your child better than anybody else, not somebody
Thank you,
1,500
sir.
miles from you.
Ms. Gutierrez?
I'm a product of public schools. Public schools do work. Unfortunately now, thanks to this choice bill, now Elon Musk, who's a billionaire, gets to take his kids for free to private school. This was a gimme to billionaires who paid Governor Abbott to pass this school voucher bill, to defund our schools. So now we have no choice. And now the billionaires have all of the choices that they ever wanted.
Thank you. Mr. Filler?
All right, well, great question. So stance on this, well, it should be a separation. If it's public funds going to private school, that's something that's private fend for themselves, which they should be able to. They can, they can figure that out. But as far as us, us as representatives of the country, how do we ensure adequate funding? So again, it's another funding question. So restructure our debt, stop borrowing from China. There's so many different ways that we can, farms to forest, we can get money, biofuels, we could get a lot of things from nothing.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Blanco?
I support school choice, and I believe that the parents should have a say-so on what our children are taught. And I am so grateful that they are dismantling everything in the national level to give it to the state, because this is going to help us, so that way we can protect our children for this woke life and LGBT and everything, because we truly are responsible for how we raise our children in a biblical way, for they can have the best.
Thank you. That is your time. Frisco?
Thanks. If you were to ask me what some of the top things that we got done, that I was able to be a part of, my accomplishments in my decade in the Texas House of Representatives, it would be educational freedom. It'd be helping the governor and the people of Texas to have the largest day one school choice program in the country. Look, when Florida used to be one of the bottom states, when they've expanded their school choice programs, they're now number one. Texas isn't doing that great, but I know that competition can bring it. But why? Well, we're breaking up the education monopoly. Right now you might say that parents maybe should use their own money to bring their child to another school, but most don't have that ability. They've been zoned to certain districts and told their kids have to go to those schools because they have a certain amount of money, but opportunity is key, and every child in this country should have that opportunity to choose where, when, and how, and by whom they're educated. So absolutely, yes, I support school choice, and I'm glad to have gotten it done here in Texas.
Thank you. Mr. Clayton?
As a former educator, and I've taught at the #1 high school in HISD, at DeBakey High School, and I must say that making a school choice and monetizing on the back of students is a disparity, and anyone who has a say-so and ensuring that individuals should have a choice on who is supposed to be educated and who's supposed to take advantage of ensuring our students are properly taken care of, I think that is just gratuitous. So the biggest issue is that when you want to monetize school choice and you try to make it to where people can attend charitable schools, you make it to where it's underprivileged students that can't get an access to an healthy education. And I think that making it to where you monetize it and you give a school choice to a student just based upon their race and their and their diversity and equity, I think that's hurting the American general.
That is your time. Thank you, sir. Mr. Mims.
Well, K through 12 education is not a federal government issue. We do not need or want the federal government telling us how to run our schools. That's a local and state issue. You have a school board, you elect them, you should make those decisions. I think for a school choice at the state level, I think we're giving opportunity to families that would not otherwise be able to get to attend. Going to use this for the first time. And that's what it's for. Those who have means, they can go to private school with or without school choice. It doesn't affect them. It affects the middle class and lower and allows them to send their children to a different school if they so feel the need. And as I understand the budget, there was additional monies given to both K-12, and I'm not aware of any suffering that K-12 endured through the school choice plan. So at San-Jac, we welcome all students, and I think that's the way it should be.
Thank you for your time. Mr. Morales.
Well, first off, all my children were homeschooled. Thank goodness I had a great wife that took care of them, educated them. They're all productive members of society now. However, I'm running for Congress. This is a state issue. Let's not forget our president wants to get rid of the Department of Education because it's not one of the fundamentals that we need locally. That should be a local issue with our school districts, our colleges, Harris County Department of Education. That's where it belongs.
Thank you. That is your time. Our next question, we'll begin with you, Mr. Thane. Question on economy. And what will your plan be to help bolster the economy in our area?
Plan to bolster it in our area. We need more and more. It's going to have to expand in the logistics area. Okay, we need more industrial parks away from our actual heavy living spaces. And that'll ease up congestion on our roads and everything, and ease up and make people want to come here with a low business tax rate and a business-friendly environment, mostly on the state, but at the federal level, grants.
Thank you. Mr. Burks?
We could talk an hour on this. So there's a couple things. Tariffs is a huge issue. I say that tariffs are like Twinkies. A few of them are good, but too many is bad. And what we have now, first of all, they're unconstitutional. Congress should be doing tariffs. And what's happening is it's chaos. Tariffs are a tax. They're a tax on working people. When something goes up at Walmart, we all care about it. The billionaires don't. So we need to get tariffs under control, and we need to get the chaos under control. The death for business is chaos, and we need some stability so that they can plan their businesses.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stovall?
Is to get the federal government to cut back their spending. Cut their spending. Anybody ever heard the term "in the Fed"? You need to continue that. We've got to stop spending, creating debt, and having that inflationary aspect come back to our locale. Let Texas manage Texas. Let the federal government get back within the chains and the bounds of that Constitution. Get it out of these environments it shouldn't be in. The idea of if you hear someone say they're going to go bring back more money for your district, that's not conservative. They're going to go grow government and the size and scope of it.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gutierrez?
I think encouraging small businesses that are employing and offering them breaks is a good start, especially right now in this economy. And more importantly, we need a healthy workforce. Our industrial facilities here are allowed to do whatever they want, causing all kinds of health effects on our community. The same community that they claim that they're hiring. Well, you're not going to have a healthy workforce that's able to work when you have a sick child with asthma, or you have someone that's sick that cannot show up to work. On top of that, we certainly need to make sure that we continue.
That's your time. Mr. Filler?
Hey, another great question. So I would start with, it takes, the old adage of it takes money to make money. So we need to invest in, there's a leaky pipe crisis that we're facing. So 800 billion gallons of water just wasted every year. So fix leaky pipes, and then maybe we might get a AI data center. We might get a small scale nuclear. We can do some more manufacturing. High paying jobs in our area. So that could certainly bolster our economy, and that's what I'll do as your next congressman.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Blanco.
Again, we have to get the government out of our way, and we have to see everything that the 9th District has. We have the Port of Houston. We have so much land in Liberty County, and we have to become a unity in this community so that we support one another, that we have the best for us to be business owners, and not only that, like he just mentions, whatever we can do for the energy section, for the data centers that are being built. We have the capacity in this place
Thank you. That is
to raise us
time.
up.
Mr. Kane.
Just a mile from here begins a quarter of this state's GDP. And the thing that will continue to make it bolster our economy is one, of course, doing what the Fed's already doing, which is helping us deepen and widen the Houston port, the ship channel. That's going to have to be done again. We need to continue to invest in our roads and infrastructure so that businesses want to come here and hire folks and make it bigger. We also need to cut these crazy regulations that prevent us from expanding our refineries or having more jobs down here in the port. And that's exactly something that the federal government can get in and get done and cut out.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clayton.
Yeah, we do not need to expand refineries because it's making our citizens in this area more sicker. But I would say that to build back our economy is we have to focus upon the Carl Perkins grant, which is a federal grant that allows high school students to earn an associate's degree and a certification to be on the job ready. Yes, it's the American dream to go to college, but it's also the American dream to be able to work and support yourself and your family once you graduate high school. So that's how we bolster our economy. Make sure that our students are ready to work post-graduation.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mims.
Number one, we have to continue to work on controlling inflation. Best way you can control inflation is limit federal spending. That's what causes inflation. The next thing is we need to continue to work, pressure the Fed. We need to lower the interest rates. That helps our businesses to grow, helps us hire more employees, and pay our employees better. The last thing is our federal agencies are out of control, and they're putting up roadblocks. They're creating difficulties for our businesses and our major industries in the area to grow and expand. We have to take that authority back away from these various federal agencies, put it back in Congress where it belongs. We don't need unelected bureaucrats telling us how to run our businesses. That'll help a lot.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morales.
We have a lot of anti-oil lobbyists, bureaucrats in Washington that have preventing us from expanding our refineries. Right now, we have approximately 10 in the area. They refine mostly heavy crude. We got medium crude, and because of fracking, we have light crude. We need to see expansion. It costs money, but in the long run, if we can get these refineries going, including modular, that will produce jobs in this area.
Thank you. That is your time. Crystal?
Okay, so the economy right now is a kitchen table topic. Everybody's being affected by the economy, and I can tell you right now that 1.2 million jobs are affected here locally when it comes to exports. 2.5 million are directly related here with the ports, the plants, and the pipelines. We're a working class family, and inflation is hovering around 3% right now. And what we need to do is stop regulations and strengthen our trades and accountability with the USMCA with Mexico and that crude oil. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morales, you'd like to add?
We talk about the economy in our area. Let's remember Congressional District 9 covers another county as well. And we have to bolster that area. We have to remove the corruption at all levels in that whole county so we can grow businesses there. Businesses are shutting down there because of, right now, they're afraid of ICE. We got to change that message, okay? We need to make sure ICE is going after the hard criminals, not everybody. That is hurting the economy up there.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Birch, we'll start with you on the next question. Many Texans are struggling under the weight of excessive taxes. What is your plan to bring tax relief to the average Texan living in District 9?
I couldn't agree more. The tax situation is a disaster, and what we have now is, like I said, an administration that won't spend $350 billion to help us out with health care, but is willing to spend $4 trillion to help billionaires out. We need to make taxes fair. We need to make it so that working class people, by the way, if you're low income, you're paying a lot of taxes. Whenever you go to HEB or Kroger, you're paying taxes. If you fill your car up or your truck up with gas, you're paying taxes. The percentage of taxes that the low income folks are paying is very high. We need to help middle class and not the billionaires.
Thank you, sir. That is your time. Mr. Stovall.
This is a short answer. The best way you can affect a positive outcome in the economy here is to lower spending at the federal level. There's really no other basis. You lower spending at the federal level, you will help everything across the board. As long as they're borrowing at the rate they're borrowing and inflation is at the rate it is, which is related, you're not going to get any savings anywhere, and taxes are going to continue to rise. And the idea that we're going to fund all these different programs and we're going to get it to everybody equally, not going to happen. You're just going to send this empire into a spiral that's going to be a death spin.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gutierrez.
Yes, there's not a magic wand. However, we need to stop taxing our middle class and our lower middle class. As a percentage of income, we pay more into a system and get little to nothing back. But yet billionaires do not pay income tax. Yet they consistently get to take advantage of all of the government subsidies. Those are big corporations. That's Elon Musk. Every time he throws a rocket up into the sky, those are our tax money. And then to add insult to injury, we have to clean it up. Again, there's no reason why there shouldn't be fair taxation on our community.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Filler.
Thank you very much. So yeah, there's several plans to bring tax relief. So first of all, so we can start addressing the dismantling of the apparatuses of government. So when you take away, for example, Medicaid, Medicare, like I was making reference to, that forces people to bend Taub, and we're footing the bill for that. But really, the big picture really for everyone up here should be thinking, and what we need to do is generate more income, like I said, restructuring debt, biofuels, infrastructure, solar. There's so many different ways we can be very rich.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Blanco.
I believe that we should abolish the IRS and that we should have our citizens have more money in their pocket. And if tariffs work, that's great. And if we have any other ideas that come as, to one another once we are representing the people, it has so much to affect the community. It has affected because taxes, in property taxes, in...
Thank you. Mr. King.
Yes. Well, I've been rated, got an A+ lifetime rating by Texans for fiscal responsibility, and recently received an award by them for calling me a taxpayer champion. Way to reduce, or to make it a little better here, of course, always, yes, the answer is to reduce spending. There's several federal agencies that could go. An easy one would be HUD, and certainly, of course, the Department of Education should be abolished to send some of that money back to the states. But with that, it's that easy. We should end the Fed and abolish and repeal the federal income tax.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clayton.
So it seems like Mr. Kane is continuously getting buy-offs and payment from a lot of corporations, unlike everyone else. But the biggest thing is, and I would say, that when it comes to making sure that District 9, we need to make sure that we tax the billionaires, because that's where the money is going. Especially in District 9, it's 92% living right above the median household income. And if billionaires pay their fair share, then we can share that equitably across District 9, not for the billionaires.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mims.
Well, I assume we're talking about income taxes or mini taxes. But from the income tax standpoint, we've got to reduce spending. You're not going to raise enough money. There's not enough tax revenue out there, folks, to continue to fund this wild, crazy spending that our federal government does. So we have to get spending under control, have to get rid of waste, have to get rid of corruption at all levels, and then learn to manage and live within our means, just like we do with our families and our private family-owned businesses.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morales.
Well, let's start with the national budget. $7 trillion. But our government only takes in $5 trillion. So we always have almost a $2 trillion deficit. That's $1 trillion in interest that we're facing. And it's going to go up. We're looking at $13.8 trillion in a few years if we don't correct this. Now, nobody's talked about that. The revenue's $5 trillion. That's made up of 2.4 of taxes, 1.7 corporate taxes. And I'll discuss this another time.
That is your time. Thank you, sir. Crystal?
Okay, taxes, the evil enemy of all. Not all billionaires get away because they still have to pay property taxes. And on that note, we have seen our property taxes skyrocket lately because the state of Texas has continuously let the property taxing authorities raise that up by 10%. Federally, I think we need to abolish federal income tax. I think that we need to have fair taxes here. And I think that overtaxing people and not having something to show for it is what is hurting our economy today.
Thank you. That's your time, Mr. Thing.
The easiest thing we can do to lessen the tax burden on each person is to expand our tax base. You spread the tax base larger, each person pays a little less, little less. On the federal level, that means bringing jobs back to the United States. I supported the tariffs because that's what's going to bring them back. And as long as you can expand your tax base, because like you said, there's not enough tax money out there to buy our way out of this. We have to expand our tax base by including.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Stovall, our next question will begin with you. What is your response to the recent government shutdown? And if you were in office, what would you have done to prevent the shutdown from happening?
What would you have done to stop it from being shut down? I think the idea is we've seen Congress come to a point where really they only pass about 3% or less of what they put forward. Really, they're waiting for each continuing resolution. So they're perpetuating debt my entire lifespan. So where we thought when we hit $1 billion when I was a kid was a big deal, that's nothing today. So my idea is, if you can't get the spending down, I don't know what you do to stop this. Spending is the biggest deal they have.
Thank you. That is your time. Ms. Gutierrez?
Our health care, our health is on the line. I think that that was the right thing to do to make sure that the bill that was about to pass, and now that they have a concept of an idea of how they're going to take care of us, is really ridiculous. That they should have held out even longer to make sure that there was comprehensive health care on the table. Medicaid and Medicare were not being cut, so that the least amongst us are not going to end up hurting. How are we going to take care of our people when we consistently shut them down?
That is your time. Mr. Filler?
And another great question. So what's my response? So 100% unacceptable. So what the past two houses have been controlled by Republicans, and the last one was a do nothing, and then this one is they don't work. So they were joking around. There was Trump, with a AI video of him throwing a Trump 28 hat on on Hakeem Jeffries. So they just aren't serious people. So if I were Speaker of the House, so just negotiate, guys. So if it's over subsidies, figure it out.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Blanco?
I believe the government shutdown would have never happened if we had the Democrats think before they act. They have to think. They're there to represent the people. They are not there for sides, and I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat. The only way we're going to solve this problem is when we all get together and have one agenda, and that is everything is for the people.
Mr. Kane?
The only way to really prevent that kind of shutdowns with the American people, those who elect them. And it's that simple. It's to remind Americans that we send people to Austin or we send them to D.C. to go to work and do their job, and we're not interested in hearing them whine about it. It's that easy.
Mr. Clayton?
So the thing is, if I was in the United States Congress, I would have definitely held the line, because we have to remember that the majority, the Republicans control the House and the Senate. So I would have did everything in my power to make sure that District 9 had a strong voice, to ensure that I was definitely on the right side of history, to ensure that Americans and all of District 9 had the right access to making sure that their health care premiums did not skyrocket.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton. Mr. Mims?
Well, the best way to prevent it in the future, I think, is to vote for and elect pragmatic conservative Republicans, such as myself. The other issue is we need to pass legislation that explicitly states that if there's a shutdown, our legislators, our members of the House, our members of the Senate, they don't get a check. If they're going to hold checks from everybody else, they can hold their own, and they've got the funds to do it. So if nobody else is getting a check, they don't get a check.
Mr. Morales.
I'm a problem solver. But in this case, what we saw was basically public relations by the Democrats, what they were doing. They wanted to extend ACA, okay? Very small population. Republicans said no. What we need to look at, okay, people were going to be out of work. VA workers, TSA, important positions. We needed to solve that problem. Maybe we had accepted ACA with the condition of doing health care for everybody
That is your
in
time.
another
Thank you.
agreement.
Crystal.
Okay, the beauty of our government is that we're able to have two parties that are strongly embedded in what they believe in this country. Unfortunately, the government shutdown only served the Democrats because at their expense, hundreds of people went without paychecks. And all of those people sat up there and took a check while everyone else was paying the price. That's not okay in my book. If you're a Democrat and you were okay with holding the line, then it's your fault. You should open up your checkbook and pay our military and our TSA and everybody else that held the line with us.
Thank you. Mr. Thane.
Well, first we need to elect adults, okay? We need to elect adults and regular people. The real reason why we have so many chances to have a government shutdown is because our government has not passed a full budget since 1996, okay? If you pass a full budget, then you have less chances for this continuing resolution to come back and bite you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Virts.
Yes, my 6 Republican politician friends here all want to cut spending. So I guess they want to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, defense. Maybe they want to default on the budget because that's where all the spending is. Cutting NPR is not going to get us to a balanced budget. Folks, go back a couple months in your mind. Think about the time frame when we had this shutdown. The president, Mike Johnson, were working overtime to make sure the Epstein files didn't get released. They needed a few months to redact all that stuff. They wiped out all the whiteout at Office Depot. They just wanted to protect the Jeffrey Epstein files.
That is your time. Thank you. All right. We will begin back down again with Ms. Gutierrez first on our next question. And we are coming close to an end. We would like to know when your personal convictions differ from your party's platform or your constituents' opinions, how will you decide which to follow? That is for you. Yes, ma'am.
For my personal convictions,
Yes, when your personal convictions are different from your party platform or the opinion of your constituents, how will you decide who you're going to follow?
I mean, you follow where the people want you to go. I mean, first and foremost, I have a thing that if I'm not here to make your life better, I certainly don't want to make it worse. There's certainly a lot of things that are happening, and people can have, everyone has an opinion. But at the end of the day, if we're hungry, if we don't have access to health care.
Thank you. Mr. Filler?
And another great question. Well, hey, I'm Peter Filler. I'm the voice of the people, and my father was Wallace J. Filler, and so a Navy instructor. So the first thing he said is, Peter, be honest and just, so I would say hold strong to your convictions, Peter, and, with my morals and ethics. And, so who will I follow? My own. And I'm going to be persuasive to get people to see things my way. So pretty much, I don't think it's going to be very difficult. So, just lay out the facts. Here they are. It's just be honest and just get people to see things my way.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Blanco?
Being elected to the 9th District of Texas is because people know that I will lead them and make decisions based on the best for the community. Again, I believe that God puts his thoughts in us, and that if we reach out to the higher source, we will have the decision to make to lead the people that we have to represent.
Thank you, Mr. King.
And when it comes to a decision between whether I should do what the Lord wants to do or what my constituents wants me to do, Certainly, of course, the answer is do right, follow God, do what His Word says. It's always going to prevail, and it has over the last, I guess, again, near decade in the Texas legislature. I've lived this exact thing. I've been sometimes the only no vote. I understand what it's like to stand alone. So if you're wondering what I'm going to do when I go to Congress, I can do that, which is to put God first.
Mr. Clayton.
So as I said at the beginning, I believe in putting people before politics. The constituents and the District 9 would have elected me to serve them and be a voice for them in the United States House of Representatives. So I would do always what my constituents want and what's best for them. So that means that I am doing everything that I possibly can to make sure that my constituents come first, because it's not about me. When you're hired on a job, you do what's based upon what's best for the company and not what's best for you. So I would do what's best for my constituents.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mims.
Well, there's no such thing as separating our Christian faith from our service, okay? It's part of who we are. We can't change that. But also it's true, I am here to represent you. I'm here to represent the citizens of District 9. I'm going to listen to you, and you're going to let me know what it is that you want for your family and your businesses, your community, your schools, and I'm going to take those and I'm going to balance them as best I can and work in Washington to help further your needs and your goals. But I'm not going to forsake my values.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morales.
My slogan, it's not about party politics, it's about you, the people. That's why I'm running as an independent. There's so much corruption that goes on in Liberty County. And we know about Lena Hidalgo here in Harris County, don't we? Duty, honor, country. It's what Mark MacArthur said. Air Force, we changed a little bit. We said honor, duty, and country. Because if you have honor, you believe in God, everything else falls in place.
Thank you, sir. Crystal.
As your congresswoman, and when I get to Congress, I'm going to fall back on the principles that are foundational to me. And as a daddy's girl, Jesus is my daddy. He's not just God. His name is Jesus. I will fall back on that foundationally and principally first. The second is we are elected by we, the people. And not just, as council today, I don't just govern the ones that voted for me, but I govern all people, those who voted for me and those who didn't. And I'm going to be a voice for the 100% of this district, not just that 25%. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thane.
The very nature of the title representative means you're representing this district, okay? That would always be my first priority, is to vote and go along with what my district wants, unless it is a moral question that I don't foresee that happening. But as far as, I'm not going to be elected to represent the Republican Party. I'm representing District 9. So it comes first and foremost in every vote that I'd make.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burts.
I have a question for my Republican friends up here. Please raise your hand if you think Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. Anybody, raise your hand. Mr. Kane says no. Okay. Folks, these guys are going there to represent one man in Mar-a-Lago, and I'm going there to represent you. When I launched my campaign video, the very first thing I said was I criticized Chuck Schumer. And I am happy to be a Texan first. I'm not a partisan guy. I'm going there to represent the hardworking people. The reality is there's no dissent. They're going to do what they're told.
That is your time, Mr. Stovall.
The fact of the matter is, if you're a believer, and I'm speaking to you as a believer to a believer, you're obedient to God's law first. So if you're in office and things are happening that are contradictory to his law, you only have one pathway.
That's right.
And it's going to be hard. But I have found in my 60 years of life that that's a choice that most people respect, and it generally doesn't lead you in the wrong direction. It may be a struggle, but it works. So you can't really, back to the separation of church and state, you can't get God out of the government, because if you elect Christians, they're going to use him for guidance.
That's right.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Filler, we will begin this next question with you. I'm sorry.
Here. Since Donald Trump's name was brought up, do you believe in the chain of command, Colonel? And of course, I got to call him Colonel because I don't want to be court-martialed. Do you believe what Mark Kelly said about our president in the chain of command?
I believe what I was taught at the Air Force Academy, and that you don't follow illegal orders.
But we know that when we take every year, you know that we take the law of armed conflict. We know already. And the and the captain went out there and tried to break the chain of command and use politics on it.
That is time. Thank you. Mr. Filler. Mr. Filler, we will start the next question with you. Can each of you list your top 3 priorities should you be elected in office? And please list them, if you would, in order, beginning with priority number 1.
All right, well, I mentioned 3 things about myself. So I'm an educator. I can see myself working on the Judiciary Committee on all the things I mentioned, I can see myself working on the Energy and Commerce Committee, bringing biofuels, bringing solar infrastructure to our district. And lastly, I can see myself working on, I can just think of those off the top of my head. So infrastructure, solar infrastructure, biofuels, like I made reference to earlier. Let's bring small-scale nuclear here to our district.
Ms. Blanco.
The most important thing is the economy, to make sure that our people have food on their table, that they'll be able to support their family, and that it will always be priority. And of course, education is very important because this is our future, and everything that is taught to our children will affect the generations to come. And if we're not investing in the most important thing, then we are truly forgetting why we exist.
Mr. Kane.
First, support President Trump to make sure that he has a successful second term and fulfill his promises to the American people. Number 2, keep the border secure, codify many of his executive orders, deport the illegals, especially the criminals. Number 3, see what I wrote down, make America more attractive, at least fully attractive, to bring in more businesses, the best place to raise a family, the place that we see our future in.
That is your time, Mr. Clayton.
I don't know. Everyone just seems to want to, worship a king. But my top priorities would be public health, education, and affordability, because that are the things that are actually affecting District 9 right now. We want to make sure that taxes won't go up. We want to make sure that they have access to better health care. We want to make sure that and our children are well educated and prepared to work in District 9 and contribute safely and effectively to our community.
Thank you. Mr. Mims.
Well, the first on my list is jobs. We need good living wage paying jobs. We need to have to work to bring those jobs here to District 9, and so that our citizens can benefit from those. We also need to continue to work on border security. That way we ensure that we have safe streets for our families, our children, our grandchildren. I think that has to continue to be a priority. And the other one is to rein in government regulation, because that also helps our economy, helps our businesses, and helps us bring in those industries from other parts of the world.
Your time. Thank you. Mr. Morales.
We need to solve our families' economic hardship. That means jobs. That means that we need to look at those tariffs, because they're $200 billion. I don't see any money coming to us on that right now. It's a tax. Medicare and Social Security, we need to fix those right away. They're right down the street if we don't work on them today. Third, nobody's really addressed this. We need the Ike Dike. We need to make sure that we don't forget, when the sun comes out, everybody forgets about.
Thank you. Crystal.
Okay, I love this question. I have a lot of priorities, so I'm trying to put them down to 3. Well, the first one is something that affects homes today, and we said healthcare. And so I plan to introduce the Fair Pharmacy Transparency Act, so that the brokers don't take the profits. Something that should cost $2 here doesn't cost us $300. That directly impacts our homes immediately. The second is the Dual Citizenship Disclosure Act. There's a lot of people that run for Congress that are not born here, have dual citizenship, and do not prioritize their allegiance to the United States of America.
That's your time. Thank you. Mr. Thane.
First priority is to bring back jobs to the United States. Not just jobs, but good paying jobs. We didn't make anything here for a long time. Now we're going to start making things here. Number 2 is national debt. As long as our government is running a deficit, they can do nothing to help us. The last hurricane response was pitiful. Okay. I can explain that later. The third thing is bringing the education system back online. You know, back to a normal where we compete in the world as far as, you know, we used to be number one in education. Now we're, what, 72nd, 23rd, or whatever, but it's not number one, okay? So being able to compete in the global economy and our trade deals, you can't have a free trade deal with a country that has a different standard of living than we do. If you're paying somebody $20 a day, you know, working in a factory, and somebody here $20 an hour, it's not fair.
That is your time. Mr. Burts.
Yes, sir. Briscoe Kane just made my point. He is focused on allegiance to one man in Mar-a-Lago. My allegiance is going to be to you, the people, to us, the hardworking people of District 9. I have a very simple vision. It's really simple for Texas, for America, for District 9, a strong and growing middle class. We could talk for hours about how to do that, but we need a growing middle class, affordability, getting ICE to focus on criminals and not law-abiding people, fixing our broken democracy. We shouldn't be having this meeting with a mid-decade gerrymander.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stovall.
Texans spend over $1.5 billion a year dealing with illegal aliens. I think deportation is a predominant priority that we've got to deal with. It has to do with national security. It has to do with our fiscal security. Beyond that, reducing the size and scope of the federal government has got to happen. It's out of control. It's run way too large. There's not a single one of us who thinks that it's too small or needs more power. And at the end of that, this office is particularly positioned to deal with rogue judges. It's controlled by this body, whether you believe it or not. Read your Constitution.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gutierrez.
Economic opportunity, which is getting out of the way of small businesses and having a healthy workforce, which actually bleeds into sensible, humane immigration. Right now, a lot of the small businesses that depend on immigrant workers are failing, and they're getting ready to shut down. That, coupled with affordable health care, these are the things that are impacting our lives right now more than ever in this district that I consistently see and talk to business owners on all the time. There's a small business owner right now that's getting ready to shut down because he doesn't have any workers.
Thank you. That is your time. And to conclude tonight, we're going to start with Mr. Stovall and reverse our order just to do it a little different. You will not be able to use your 30-second card if you have one remaining for this portion, but you have 60 seconds to just summarize why you think you are the best choice as a candidate for us in District 9 as a congressperson.
Oh, simply put, for those that don't know, I've run for state office against John Cornyn twice. I pulled double digits in the primary in 2014 and 2020. I've been very active in the Republican Party for almost 20 years now. Authored a couple of the party planks on the party platform, have worked on the fringes of the establishment political machine, kind of understand it clearly. I also have a deep historical knowledge of this office and what it's supposed to do and what it can't do. You need to understand its limitations and authorities before you get into this. It helps a lot. Otherwise, you get a lot of people that you think you trust, and they go there, and they don't do anything, and can't change the narrative, and you can't understand what's going on with them, and they come home, and you say, oh, they've been bought out. Well, they haven't been bought out. They just don't know the office. They don't understand it. So I want to come back once every 30 days and have an update with everybody in an open forum. That's something I wanted to see all my life. It's never happened. But I think we can do that and bring as much representation to this area as we possibly can. I share a commonality with the majority of these people here like nobody else.
Thank you. That is your time. Mr. Burts.
I come from a working class family, from a union family. I want to have the privilege and honor of representing the people of this district. When I go to Congress on day one, I'm going to have a background in national security with 30 years in the Air Force and science as a NASA astronaut. I've seen the planet. I have a perspective that very few people do. In business, I've been working at NOV in the oil and gas industry and energy transition industry. So I'm going to be able on day one to get going, unlike anybody else. This is an open seat, so whoever wins this seat is going to be a freshman congressman. I'm going to be able to get working a lot faster than anybody else up here. And I will say this, I'll make this promise to you. I will have the best offices in district in the entire House. Anybody has an issue, come to my office and you're going to get served. I'm going to be back here. I'll also promise you this, I will do town halls. I will go to the VFW. I will come to Republican audiences and let you guys yell at me and complain about me all you want. I'm going to be here for the district. I'm not going as a Democrat. I'm going as a Texan. And I'm asking for the privilege of representing all of us here in District 9.
Thank you, Mr. Thing.
Well, I am a blue-collar family, so I do have a unique understanding of government because I've studied it since I was very little. I've had a deep interest in it my entire life. I go through the ways to push bills through step by step. But, like I said, I am a blue-collar person. I came in, I drove 750 miles to get here yesterday because I was working. You don't see me out a lot because I'm working, making a living for my family. Okay. So I have a unique perspective as being just like everybody in my district. Okay. What I promise to do when I get up there is to represent our values, what we believe, and not what the party believes. And you can guarantee that. Thank you.
Thank you. Crystal?
I am uniquely qualified to be your congresswoman for the entire District 9. I know exactly what it's like to relate to 100% of this district, like I said. I'm the daughter of a very white woman who lives in Dayton County, in Dayton and Liberty County, and a Mexican immigrant, okay? He raised me as a single father. I know what it's like to have a working class husband. We are a working class family. We bootstrap everything, and we fight for the American dream, not the socialist scheme, which is an entryway to communism. I will say this. When I get to Congress, I will uniquely use my experience in business development over the last 27 years, being able to get into a boardroom with strong personalities who have different opinions, and being able to come to the table to have mindsets on looking towards solutions and not fighting. We have to learn how to use those experiences and not just perspectives
That
to
is
get
your
things
time.
done.
Thank you. Mr. Morales?
First off, let me make this pledge to everybody in this room. When I'm elected, I'm not going to use insider information to do any trading on the stock market. I'm not going to come out of Congress as a millionaire. I make that promise to all of you. Now, I'm certified by the United States Air Force to direct multi-billion-dollar programs. I was hired by the city of Houston to start and initiate the emergency system there. I've reduced taxes. I want to make sure that there are jobs there for this community. I've got Republicans and Democrats that support me. I've got Houston at-large City Council member Willie Davis that has endorsed me. Republican. I've got former City Council member Robert Gallegos who's endorsed me today. I've got Republicans and Democrats on my team because we're here to support the people in
That is your
District
time.
9.
Thank you. Mr. Mims?
Well, asking you to support my campaign to represent you in Washington, D.C. I want to take my 40 years of business experience, my 27 years of community service experience, my 22 years of public service experience, and take all that knowledge and bring it to bear for you. And it's not just the knowledge I have, it's the temperament. I understand stress. I understand having to work with people and coalesce and bring people to of differing opinions to a position that benefits an organization such as San Jacinto College, but in this case, District 9 and our country. I want to be accessible. I will be back in the district as often as I possibly can be. My home is going to stay right in Channelview, Texas. It is not going to be in Washington, D.C., and I'll be here every chance I get. Besides the fact I've got 2 lovely granddaughters and a lovely wife I want to see as often as possible. So, thank you.
Thank you. That is your time. Mr. Clayton?
Thank you. So I believe that I should be elected to office because I bring over 20 plus years of experience in public health and public policy. So I understand how it works on both fronts to look at policy and how it works for the people. So the thing is that going into Congress, I want to make sure that I'm not only a fighter for District 9, but I'm also a unifier. I want to make sure that I'm working across party lines to ensure that the voice of the people and that you guys are always before politics. And the thing is that being elected into the United States House of Representatives, I represent you. I represent District 9. And I will use all of my knowledge to ensure that we have a stronger workforce, we have a stronger education system, we have a stronger public health system. And I myself, I would host a town hall every 3 months to ensure that I'm doing the work of the District 9, but I also want to make sure that I'm in Washington fighting for you day in and day out. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kane.
Excellent. I'd say the voters of this district want an experienced conservative fighter from their community to go to Washington to represent them. Of course, I'm running in the Republican primary. Let's discuss that experience. Got almost a decade in a legislative capacity, in a legislative chamber of the 8th largest economy in the world. It may not be D.C., but it ain't Mississippi. We're doing things fast. We're taking almost 13,261 record votes. I've got the experience on the floor, know exactly what it takes. Been ranked consistently as one of the most consistently conservative members of the Texas legislature. That's my House experience. I'm also an attorney. I've represented the religious liberty rights of police officers, represented the religious conscience rights of teachers. Heck, when Shelley Luther was jailed for trying to operate her hair salon during COVID, I'm one of the attorneys who got her out of jail. I fight every time I see it. I've represented this district well, been their proven fighter for almost a decade, and I believe I'll do that again in Congress when I'm elected next year.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Ms. Blanco.
As you know that I have ran for the 29th District of Texas before. I was the nominee in 2020. I know that I ran because I had the passion to make a difference, even though everyone thought that it was an unwinnable seat, and I knew that the chances would have been a miracle from God. But I run with passion, and I have the love that the community needs, that the 9th District needs. It is just by chance that the 9th District, which now everyone's in it because it's winnable to a Republican, that I had the opportunity to go in there and make a difference when I went to go run on something that everyone kept saying it wasn't winnable. I want everyone in the 9th District to be giving the tools so that way they can become successful, so they can have a hand up, so that we can rise together, because passion will change the course of history.
That's your time. Thank you. Mr. Filler.
Thank you very much, Central Baptist Church and community, for coming out and for allowing me to articulate. Again, I'm Peter Filler. I call myself the voice of the people. I'd love to be that opportunity to represent y'all. So basically, I'm humble. I'm honest. I could be up here telling you, speaking the truth, and so I'm a unifier. I'm an educator. I mentioned that. I build consensus every day in my classroom, so I know I could do the same on the Problem Solvers Caucus. So, we don't want to send someone that's going to be just more of the infighting. We need someone, a uniter. So I could see myself 100% in that role. I'm a go-getter. I would work for the best outcomes. I look out at the audience here. I see somebody, who really needs some help, and they were, targeted by one of the representatives up here. So I would help to solve those situations, remedy them, and make sure that the people who need the most help get the most help. I'm creative. I'm educated. My background's resource management. So I put all that. Innovative, creative, creating jobs, working for the best outcomes for our community, and working in a bipartisan fashion. So, because I represent everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gutierrez.
My name is Leticia, and I'm running for Congress because I genuinely see how this district and its working families work itself to the bone, but yet get little to nothing back, and still find itself short with medical debt, trying to take out loans for food. And yes, a lot of those families are also immigrant, and they deserve also at the American dream. We are Americans. We came here. We did what we had to do because we did it out of desperation, but we want to work. We want to pay our fair share, and we deserve to be here. We are Americans as well. My firstborn son, I'm a Blue Star mom, is currently fighting for this country. It's not fair that his grandparents don't want to leave the house right now. And that also bleeds into our economy. If you're subtracting from the pool of people as demand continues to go up to be able to work, the cost of goods, guess what, will continue to go up.
That is your time. Thank you. Candidates, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight. I think we have every candidate but one on our platform, and I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's a busy season with Christmas and the holidays and the campaign trail, but I appreciate you being here, sharing your hearts. I hope that it was beneficial to you, and we appreciate your willingness to step into this office to represent the people of District 9. That speaks volumes of each and every one of you, and we're grateful for your willingness to serve should you be elected. And I would ask you to stick around as we conclude tonight to have opportunity maybe for some conversation with those that are here with us tonight. And for those that are here with us, I want to thank you for coming and taking your Friday evening to be here. I hope it was beneficial to you. I hope that you learned about each candidate, and I hope that you will continue to do some research about every one of them and seek the Lord for direction, because this obviously is a big decision of who represents us in Congress. So thank you guys for being here. God bless you. You are dismissed. Candidates, if you would, join us in the foyer so that we can have some conversations with you.